meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm Lori Flannery, President and CEO of New Directions, President of this club, and Paul Harris Fellow. I want to remind everybody, the room is full, I want to remind everybody that if you have a device with you today, if you will please silence it or completely turn it off during the duration of our program, that would be very much appreciated. I also want to note that we did not start exactly at noon, which is very unusual for this club, but I think it was worth it. My Waze said I would actually get here at 11:15 because I try to get here a little bit early, and I actually got on property at about 11:42. So I think a lot of you may have run into some traffic snags. That may mean that our meeting might go just a little bit long. I want to assure you that if it does and you need to leave, please quietly exit through one of the doors and feel comfortable doing so. All right, now I would like to invite to the stage for our invocation, Maggie Elder, CEO of Girl Scouts of Kentuckiana.
Good afternoon, everybody. A warrior's prayer. May I do what is needed with courage and skill. Be a loyal ally to my fellow citizens and my country. Bless me this day and keep me safe from harm, diminish my fears, grow my courage, heal my spirit. Bless me as I do my duty today, the best I can. Strengthen me in my mind, body, and spirit. Help me to respect my adversary as a fellow human. Bless and protect me on this day in all I must do. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Maggie. Now for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Rotary four-way test, I'd like to invite up Rebecca Grignon-Rieger.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The four-way test.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Rebecca. Rebecca is the Executive Director of the Louisville Metro Police Foundation, in case you wondered why she was having her fan club here today. Okay, now, Rotarians, it is time for you to introduce any guests that you might have with you today. So if you will please line up at the microphone to my right, your left. All right, before we get started, I want to remind Rotarians, order in the house. We've got the police force here with us today. I want to remind Rotarians, as you are introducing your guests at the microphone over here to my right, please say your name first, then introduce your guest, giving their name and their affiliation. Guests, when you hear your name, if you will please stand just briefly so that others in the club can see who you are and put a name with a face. Please.
My name is Chris Monzo, principal of Sandbox Design, an architectural firm. President Wood. I'm here to introduce a colleague and a friend of mine, Justin Williams. He's the CEO of BitNix, MSP-based service provider here for computers. BitNix focuses on practical solutions, making IT simpler and more efficient for their clients. So welcome, Justin.
Welcome.
Lori, I'm Susan Zepeda, and my guests today are my friend and future member of Rotary, Terry Barnes, principal of eSmart LLC, and her mama, who's not going to stand, Mrs. Teresa Barnes.
King, retired. I have my girlfriend, Tricia Lane, from New Orleans, Louisiana. Brookhaven, and I have a good friend of mine, retired Lieutenant David Toby, who works in Brookhaven.
Welcome.
I'm Boston, Assistant Dean in College of Business. I'm here with Marco Harris. He works now at Home of the Innocent, and he's one of the candidates for the Rotary Fellows.
Welcome.
President Lori, fellow Rotarians, Corey Miller, Executive Director of the Cabbage Patch Settlement House, and it's my pleasure to introduce my wife, Elizabeth Miller.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, I'm Alan Singleton, I'm President of Agri Financial Services here in Louisville. My guest is Henry McKay. He is with the TOSHU, which is a close to $100 billion international trading company, and one of our successors. So,
Welcome.
President Lori, first I want to congratulate you on a very successful and wonderful third annual I Rise Gala.
Presidents ever.
There, those who worked with us, just an amazing evening, so congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm Jean Westpass, president of the club, and my guest is George Davis, former professional soccer player, or when George and I are in Peru, we say football player. He is now executive director of Blue City and Racing Foundation.
President Lori, fellow Rotarians, Kevin Fields, I'm honored to introduce Sharon Johnson. Sharon is a senior management administrator with U.S. Small Business Administration, Kentucky Field Office, and she is the daughter and wife of a new member inductee, Herbert Johnson.
Welcome.
President Lori, fellow Rotarians, my guest is Mike Kushma. Mike has just moved from Maryland, and we had lunch a few weeks ago. He goes, I really want to get involved with the community, and I'm like, you're talking to the right guy. Dad was in Rotary, and he is here to check us out.
Excellent.
Welcome, Mike.
Welcome.
President Flannery and fellow Rotarians, Matt Riggle, CAO with LPX Group. My guest is Dan Delaney. He's a project engineer with Global Paving and a full-time MBA student here at UofL.
Excellent. I have a guest here with me today as well, Kurt Mason. Kurt, if you don't mind to stand for just a second. Kurt is a retired federal executive and specialist in soil science and land use planning, and he's also the board chair for New Directions. So my boss, welcome, Kurt. Guests, the next time you hear me ring that bell, that will mean that this meeting is adjourned. When you hear that, if you'll please make your way over to the table in the far corner over here. It's the What is Rotary table, and we would just appreciate your courtesy to listen for just a few minutes about what Rotary is in general and about our club. And you can tell it's the What is Rotary table because there's a placard in the middle of the table that says, What is Rotary? March is Women's History Month, so it is fitting that we take a moment to recognize the 6 women on the screen that have served or will serve our club and fund in the role of president. And I'm the 113th president, so 6 may not sound like a very good percentage if you're looking all the way back, but if you're just looking in the last 10 or 15 years, it's pretty darn good. And to thank the many other women of Rotary who advance our mission and impact through service above self. So let's give all the women in the club. This also happens to be World Rotaract Week. Our Rotaract Club of Louisville is looking for college-age adults to join. So think of who you might know who might be interested and connect them with Rick Harnett or Linda Bartram Moore. Meetings are held at the U of L College of Business, room 101, every second Monday at 12:30. Members are hosting their first Rotaract Blood Drive next Wednesday, March 19th, here on campus, so please support them if you can. And I also just wanted to take a moment to note the unexpected passing of Junior Bridgman earlier this week. He touched the lives of so many people in Louisville We are so lucky to have had him in our community. His life held a special meaning for me, and I am pretty sure that that's probably true for almost everybody in this room, which is amazing. His life was the epitome and an example for all of us for service above self, which of course is our Rotary motto. So, in his honor, let's think about that as we go forward this week in remembering what service above self looks like and the example that Junior gave to us. Okay, now I'm going to highlight the events that we have going on. So I want to remind everybody that Rotary Spring Fling at the Zoo is April 8th. We also have a few tickets left for our Day at the Downs, which is on April 30th. The details and registration links for these events and more are in Sparks. And we could still use a couple of volunteers for our Habitat for Humanity Raise the Roof Service project tomorrow. As you know, Rotary has been a long-time supporter of Habitat, and actually Bridget Johnson, one of our Rotarians, is a board member for Habitat. She'll be there tomorrow representing their board, and I will be there tomorrow representing Rotary. So if you're interested, please contact Melissa Gray if you can help out. Should be good weather, I think. The Parks Alliance of Louisville will have a groundbreaking ceremony for a reimagined Ballard Park on Saturday, March 22nd at 1 p.m. Our club has supported this effort through a grant from the Rotary Fund for a hydration station at the park, and several Rotarians serve in staff or board roles with the Park Alliance. This is a great opportunity for visibility in our community, so please join the celebration if you are able. Now, I would like to invite to the podium President nominee Barbara Sexton Smith, Chief Rewirement Officer of BSS Enterprises, and Paul Harris Fellow +5 to induct some of our new members.
Thank you, President Laurie, and fellow Rotarians and distinguished guests. Please join me as we induct 3 new members today. I want to invite to the podium Aaron Miller, Herbert Johnson, Sean Somerville. We say them in that order, I was told before we started, because they have to stand in that order. Thanks, Delene. All right, and then also Greg Ron, one of the best darn presidents we've ever had, and Kevin Fields, their sponsors. All right, fellow Rotarians, today we seek to grow our membership so that we may not only increase our usefulness and influence as a club, but also extend the spirit of Rotary throughout our community and the world. And today, it is my honor to induct 3 new members. So to our 3 new members, we say, you've been elected to membership in this club because we believe you to be worthy, representative of your calling, and to possess qualities that will permit you to exemplify in your public and your business and your social and private lives the true spirit of Rotary. You've been admitted not only to the 13th largest club on the planet of 46,000 clubs worldwide, but you've also to a global organization touching lives everywhere you go. You will be welcome at all of these clubs at any time. Rotary membership adds value to those who engage, whether by attending meetings and events, participating in service projects, or by sharing your knowledge and talents as we carry out the principles of Rotary into the community. It is my honor to now formally induct you as a member to the Rotary Club of Louisville.
Rotarians, I'd like to introduce Aaron Miller as our newest member to the club. Aaron is a results-driven professional with over 15 years of experience in the food and beverage industry. He is currently the catering director here at the University Club, which means he's the number 2 guy. And previous to that, he was with the Louisville Thoroughbred Society downtown somewhere in Louisville. Aaron has a background in varied responsibilities with the industry. He's in food and beverage management. He does event planning and execution, bartending and mixology, And who doesn't love mixologists, right? I do culinary goods, team management, and development. And before he did this, he was also a self-employed. He worked as a private contractor from home renovation and remodeling. Very, very good man, and we're glad to have him in our club. Please welcome Aaron Miller.
All right, now, Kevin Fields, will you please join us for our next two new members?
Thank you, Barbara, and fellow Rotarians. I'm Kevin Fields, and I am proud to sponsor two new members under the Louisville Central Community Center's corporate membership. First, Herbert Johnson. Herbert has an extensive experience in managing food and beverage retailers, distributors, and internal teams. He's a highly skilled in leveraging analytics and financial data to deliver measurable results, both internal and external to stakeholders. Herbert is certainly a servant leader and a top performer. His career highlights include successful negotiations of new product launches, exceptional sales execution, and he fully understands the importance of collaboration and connection in achieving success. At LCCC, Herbert serves as a VISTA Community Impact Ambassador, which means he's donating his retirement to helping to support our mission at Louisville Central Community Center. Herbert has been happily married to his wife, Sharon, for 26 years. Together they have 3 children and 1 beloved granddaughter. And I would add too, I could say a lot about this guy. He's like a brother, he's a best friend. But also we're in mourning with him, as tomorrow he'll be burying his brother, Richard, who is his younger brother, and I know his heart is heavy with that. So I ask your prayers and thoughts and condolences to her. And next, Roderick Sean Somerville, we call him Sean, who is a native of Chicago and is founder and CEO of Ebony Greens, LLC, a business dedicated to increasing African-American participation in the industry of golf. Sean has earned a BS degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Illinois and has spent over 3 decades as a building and systems engineer at UPS. Committed to community impact, Sean has served as AmeriCorps Vista with LCCC, and he's also currently our project manager for the construction of our Grand River Theater. His work as a volunteer certainly aligns with the mission of LCCC, which is to foster social and economic and artistic and economic growth in the Russell neighborhood and beyond. Sean is a committee member of the Black Tourist Advisory Council, which is a part of Louisville Tourism, where he has helped to secure the 2023 African American Golf Expo for the city of Louisville, earning him Volunteer of the Year. He also has other volunteer honors, including a 2-time recipient of UPS's top award to their employee volunteers, the Casey Award, and also a recipient of the WLKY Bell Award. He is vice chair of the National Association of Black Golf Merchandisers, a Millionaire Marketplace member, and an advocate for small business owner development. Please join me in congratulating Sean for being here.
Thank you, Barbara. We want to congratulate our new members, the inductees, and we also want to
explain to you that Paul Harris Fellow is a designation that we use to recognize Rotarians and others, so you don't even have to be a Rotarian, who've given $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation. The Rotary Foundation is the philanthropic arm of Rotary International, so it's something that we're all part of by virtue of our membership here in the Rotary Club of Louisville. And that's a cumulative amount of $1,000. You don't have to give it all at once, although you can, if you like. So I want to take just a minute and ask everybody who has already become a Paul Harris Fellow if you would stand and let us thank you for your generosity. These Rotarians are setting the pace for us all, so thank you. Now our club has a goal of $50,000 this Rotary year to meet, so we have 3 months to go. End of June is when our club year ends. Last year we gave $55,000 and we're at about $46,000. So we got a little ways to go, so we need some help, everybody. And I just want to say a word about why you should do that. One thing your club is asking you to give at least $100 a year, because if we all do that, we won't have any trouble meeting our goal. And it's one of the ways that we all live out our Rotary motto, service above self, that President Ward reminded us of. It's also, I always think, a great way to be a part of big projects worldwide that we could never do on our own, either individually or even with the size of club that we have. Things like promoting education, safe water, and of course, eradicating polio from the earth. So big things that you'll look back on and say you were happy that you had an opportunity to participate in. And then for those of you who are thinking, I just like my gift to be local, part of that money does come back to us locally in the form of district grants. So you can check all those boxes with one gift. Now we're going to, just in a minute, recognize 3 Rotarians who earned a Paul Harris Fellow, but before we do that, I want to make sure that you know about a promotion that's going on through March 23rd. Many of you are familiar because we've done this before, and you have a flyer on your table in case you want to take advantage of this. So this is a promotion that our district that we're part of is bringing to us, and through the 23rd of this month, if you give anywhere between $125 and $2,000, you can have that donation matched $1 or 4 point, and it'll help you become a Paul Harris Fellow faster. Or if you're already a fellow, to achieve a higher level of that. You're going to meet some of our Rotarians who've done that today. So it's just a little incentive for people to get started or make some more progress, and it helps us meet our goal, and it does a lot of good in the world. So if you're not sure how much you've given and how close you are to being a fellow or to the next level, I can tell you that, or Mike Cool can tell you that. Most of you know Mike, and his name and number are on that flyer. He will help with that, and we will make it as easy as possible for you to do this. So I encourage, really just ask you to think about that. So next I'll ask Cindy Cottle, hopefully all these people are here, Robert Chatham, and Matt Riggle. I know Matt's here to join me at the podium. Let's give him a hand. So these are all Rotarians who've reached a certain point in their giving that we want to recognize today, and we will do Cindy first. So Cindy, we're recognizing Cindy as Paul Harris Fellow +1. So thank you so much, Cindy. Robert Chatham is a Paul Harris Fellow +7. Wow. And then we have something a little different with Matt. We've already met today. So Matt is a new Paul Harris Fellow, and he is being recognized by another Rotarian, Paula Grisanti. So I know probably a lot of you are not, didn't know you could do that, but you can recognize your spouse, somebody in the community, another Rotarian, if you want to, and if you want to do that with your dollars, or many of you might have some points in your Rotary account. We can explain to you about that and how that works. But we want to congratulate Matt because Paula wanted to recognize him just because of all the good things that he's done in the community. So Matt, we congratulate you, and here's your gift. Paula, would you come up? And then if I could just get one with Matt and, oh. Yes. Wait, sorry.
Like Rosie, you're done.
Thank you, Amy, and congratulations to our honorees today. And thank you, Paula, for sponsoring someone. Matt, you also have this fabulous diploma to take with you today. So I'm going to leave it around the table if you'll get it before you leave. All right. Now, I am honored to introduce today's speaker. Paul Humphrey was sworn in as Chief of the Louisville Metro Police Department on September 27, 2024. A lifelong Louisville resident, Chief Humphrey joined LMPD as a patrol officer in 2006, following his graduation from the University of Louisville. Early in his career, Humphrey served as a patrol officer and patrol supervisor in the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 6th divisions. Chief Humphrey was promoted to SWAT team commander in 2017 and is credited with restructuring the SWAT team, creating a new culture of improvement and accountability while managing the team's training, tactical planning, and operations budget. In 2019, Humphrey was chosen to lead the LMPD training division before being promoted to assistant chief in 2021. As assistant chief, Humphrey managed the department's $180 million budget, led new officer recruitment efforts, and oversaw intelligence and crime data analysis for LMPD. In 2022, Chief Humphrey established the LMPD Accountability and Improvement Bureau, which led to the opening of the Summit Wellness Center. Some of you will remember that we had the mayor's state of the city there, not this year, but last year. And the center is a state-of-the-art facility promoting mental, physical, spiritual, social, and financial, so holistic wellness for police officers and other first responders in Louisville. He also played an integral role in leading LMPD's police reform initiatives during and after the U.S. Department of Justice pattern and practice investigation of the department. All of this happened before he was named interim chief in June of 2024, and of course, permanent chief just 3 months later. Outside of LMPD, Chief Humphrey is actively engaged in numerous community organizations. He serves on the board of St. X High School, his alma mater, because we all have to know where he went to high school, and the Kentucky Law Enforcement Council. He has also served on the Catholic Charities of Louisville Board of Directors. Humphrey comes from a family of career public servants. His sister, Yvette Gentry, was a 20-year LMPD officer and served as interim chief in 2020. His father was a longtime criminal investigator for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and his mother worked as a local emergency dispatcher for 32 years. Welcome, Chief.
You don't mind, I'm not going to stand behind the podium. I don't do podiums well. So I'll start off by saying I'm open to any questions when we're finished with this. I know there's a Q&A time at the end. If I don't want to answer it, I'll just tell you I don't want to answer it. For the sake of transparency. So the best job I ever had on the police department was the time that I spent on the SWAT team. And the things that it taught me, I don't know if I could have learned in any other environment the way I learned it there. It was such a challenge to myself, it was such a challenge to each other, and we put the pressure on each other because we understood the risks that we faced every day. So while other people would would give us pats on the back at the end of operations. They would tell us good job. They would say, oh, that's amazing, look what you did. They didn't understand what happened behind the scenes. Because behind the scenes, we would go back to the office and we would absolutely destroy the things that we did. And we wanted to make sure that any of the mistakes that we made, whether anyone knew about them or not, never get made again. But more importantly, we wanted to make sure that any of the successes we had were intentional. A lot of times we interpret success as being a product of what we're doing, when in fact, it's often just the outcome that we had no control over as by chance. So we built a culture within the SWAT team that was about continuous improvement, and it was about evaluation, it was about being able to criticize each other openly and regularly, and that's how you show each other you care about each other, right? So if you do not criticize me on a regular basis, one of our deputy chiefs, Emily McKinley, is here. That's like my #1 critic. And then I'm also joined by Lieutenant Tony Dodger, who works in the chief's office, and Josh Hatch, who's a retired major who came back to work in the chief's office. The reason why they are around me and the reason why I surround myself with people like that is because they are willing to critique, criticize, give feedback. And if we are not doing that on a regular basis, I know it says one of two things. It says either they don't care about me because they're willing to watch me continue making mistakes, or they don't think I'm capable of more. So the moment that the people around you keep their mouth shut, they're telling you something, right? And so that is what I learned on the SWAT team, is that we knew that in order to have each other's back, we had to be very, very willing to be critical and evaluate the way that we did things. So it wasn't about, did we have a good outcome at the end of this operation? It was about, how do we create a situation, a circumstance, a culture, a product, a system where it was going to improve itself constantly. Anybody familiar with survivorship bias? Okay, so this comes from World War II. And they were looking at all these planes that came back from their operations over Germany, dropping bombs, missions. These planes were getting shot up all over the place. And so, but they were losing a lot of planes, especially early in the war. They were losing a lot of planes, and so they were trying to figure out how to fix this problem. And they said, well, looking at the planes that came back, look at all the bullet holes in them. We need to make sure we armor those places where they're getting shot most often. Seems to make sense. But you're asking yourself the wrong question, which means you're going to solve the wrong problem. You should be asking yourself, where did the planes that didn't make it back get shot? And so when we talk about outcomes reinforcing our tactics, our decision-making, our processes, we often look only at those failures, right? Good outcomes, we say, good outcomes reinforce poor tactics. For us, particularly on SWAT, we rarely got in shootings. But when we did, we could chalk it up to being an outlier. We rarely got in serious use of force situations. But when we did, we could chalk it up as being an outlier. And so it reinforced all of those times that we didn't, when in fact, most people don't want to fight us. Most people don't want to shoot with us, right? That wasn't anything of our doing. Most people just don't want to deal with those consequences of doing that. It has nothing to do with our tactics or our performance. So when we're reinforced by that, and we ask ourselves the wrong question, we're never going to get the improvement that we actually need. And so how do you create that culture within a unit, an agency, an organization, where you're constantly looking for those gaps? And those gaps might be right there in your successes, as opposed to only examining the failures that you had. If you see a turtle on a post when you're riding down a country road, what do you ask yourself? I mean, if I saw this, I'd be like, well, how did he get up there? Right? How in the world did a turtle get on the post? Well, how's he going to get down? If somebody doesn't help him get down, then he's going to shrivel and die. What's he actually going to do up there? Turtle can't do anything up there. He's just going to sit there. He's going to sit there until somebody else comes along. Well, when we look at our organizations, we often have a lot of post turtles. That you're asking yourself, how did this person get in this position? What are they doing here except for getting in our way and making us work? How are we going to use this person? And they will shrivel and die unless we do something with them. But that's not the turtle's fault, oftentimes. It's the people who put them up there, and it's the people who let them stay there. Because the turtle will survive, the turtle will thrive if you put them in the right environment. And oftentimes we have the right people in the wrong places. And we have the wrong combination of people for some of those circumstances that we need. So when you're talking about culture creation, driving culture, changing culture, we also have to talk about the people that are there. Are they the right people, and are they the right places that they need to be to function and to thrive? So team building, team growth, putting people in the right places. And then when you get people in the right places, what are you actually asking them to do? Because a lot of times the things that we do are all talk, right? And then we do these great things, and everybody's organization probably has some version of a strategic plan. And most of you are really, really proud of it, at least the two people that worked on it. And it's probably over the head of 99% of your workers. It sits on the shelf and never gets used, but they're really, really proud of it, right? But if the strategic plan is really about driving the culture, if it's really about driving the organization, it has to be understandable. It has to be able to be processed by the people that are going to put that in place. So first of all, you have to have outwardly thinking people that have a culture of seeking feedback, seeking criticism, being willing to take the input and the value of the people that are doing the work and put it into that plan. Then how you communicate that plan is going to determine how it gets executed. This is a picture of the three of us and another lieutenant back during 2020. You know how those plans went. So putting a plan in place once you have the right team is fundamental to the success of the team. And how you communicate that plan down to people is not just with the paper. It is not just with the document. It is partially related to your communication, partially related to the culture that you've created, that people understand that when I'm putting this plan in place, I'm asking you to execute this plan, I am doing it because I believe in you, your ability to pull this plan off, and I am going to give you feedback on how we are being successful with this plan and where we need to change it. So plans, while they sit on shelves, they have to be living documents. They have to be part of the organizational culture, and they have to be talked about all the time, right? So that brings us to where we are now. So to give you an idea of where we were over I'm going to divide the world just like most people do at this point, in the pre-2020 and post-2020. And when you look at the state of Louisville pre-2020, I think we were all having a really good time. I think 2019, early 2020, we saw in Louisville the version of Louisville that we all wanted to see. The things that we had been wanting and driving for my entire life. I think before I was born, people were talking about a bridge downtown, and we finally got one, right? Waterfront Park, I remember when it was that little crappy park that was next to the sand factory, and it was like 3 people that ever went down there in a year. It was my family that went there. But it was absolutely amazing. Then you go downtown, there's people everywhere, there's new businesses and restaurants popping up, and then 2020 hits. And it changed the scope of the world. But I'm going to put some things in perspective from a crime standpoint about what 2020 did to this city versus what's going on now. So prior to 2020, within the police department, pre-2020 to post-2020, our arrests dropped 51%. The number of traffic stops we made dropped 43%. There's some good and there's some bad in that, right? But what are the results? Not a direct correlation. I'm not telling you that the more people we lock up, strict number, the better crime gets. There are all kinds of factors that go into these, and I'll explain some of that. But when those two things dropped, homicides went up 40%. Traffic fatalities went up 33%. Now, one of the good things is that we had actually done a new de-escalation training called ICAP. and our use of force went down 26%. So that is a good thing that happened in that time period as well. And so, coming into this position, and I'm again going to give the credit to Deputy Chief McKinley, because this is largely her plan. A lot of evidence-based stuff. We knew coming into this position that something had to change. We often threw whatever at the wall in order to solve crime, in order to solve issues. The way that we operated as an agency was we had a problem, a specific unit, a specific division, a specific set of people were tasked to deal with that. And oftentimes, those people that were doing the work did not understand the big picture. They didn't know where they fit into it. So, us as young officers were often told, go stop by gas stations on late watch at night, or do this or do that, and we didn't know why we were doing it, how it fit into the big picture, which means what? We're not going to do it for very long. We're not going to do it very well, right? And so when you give people an understanding of the overall plan and how each one of them fit into the plan, and then you give them a voice in how they actually execute the plan, you give them the mission, you give them the vision, and you let them run. And so what we see is we actually see results, and we see the ability to pivot and change when needed. So our strategic plan coming into 2025 to deal with violent crime. Oh, there we go. So we have a three-pronged plan a three-front plan for dealing with violent crime in the data responsive policing, often used to be referred to as hotspots policing. That is how we deal with the day-to-day problems, the week-to-week problems in each division. But what it used to be is that we would say, Major Section Smith, 1st Division, you have these problems, what are you doing about it? We would go around all 8 divisions, we would ask what the problems were, we'd say, what are you doing about it? That was it. We would show some pictures of some guns, some pictures of some arrests. We have changed that completely. It is now, Major Section Smith, what are the problems you have, and what are we as an agency going to do about it in that division? So what resources do you need? What is your plan? We're going to document that plan. We're going to give it time to work as opposed to coming back the next week. We're going to come back in a 28-day cycle. So now we hit 2 divisions. What are your plans? What resources do you need? Let's execute that plan. Let's come back. Let's evaluate the steps that you took, and let's make the appropriate adjustments to that plan and deal with those problems that pop up. Being very, very flexible and understanding the needs of those specific communities and those specific areas of the police department. Then our second part of the plan, the second front, these are all simultaneous, is this midterm, this violent offender focus, right? So we're focusing on repeat offenders. There's a repeat offender program that is being worked on through the Bingham Fellows Group that I think is going to be absolutely amazing. It's dealing with evaluating the courts and how the prosecutorial process is successful or not, and the impact that it has on things. Very excited about what the Bingham Fellows and Major Brian Eaglin in particular, he's the 1st Division Major, and what they're doing with this program. The other part of this is violent felon apprehension. So the people that we already know that have committed crimes, that have warrants, that we are going out there and taking those people off the street. Because we also know that the more that we let them reoffend, it continues that cycle. So we have to go get them, pull them out of society, put them in adult timeout until they can figure out how to play by the rules like everybody else, right? For some people, that's a very long time. For others, they get the picture really quickly, right? And part of that is also our group violence intervention program. So you'll hear that referred to as GVI. So GVI is a carrot and stick approach. We would love to work ourselves out of a job, right? To do that, we know that we have to partner and work with other entities that are getting people out of the criminal lifestyle. And so starting to deal with a lot of those socioeconomic issues that people face that keep them in that criminal lifestyle. So in partnership with organizations like Goodwill, we're able to offer resources such as job training, counseling, housing placement, in order to identify people that are high likelihood to be victims or offenders and get them out of that lifestyle. But if they don't, we'll meet them in a different way. And that is the other half of GVI. And I will tell you right now, that is the half that the LMPD has not done very well. We have done a really, really good job of facilitating resources for people and identifying people. We have not done a very good job of our follow-through with the prosecution of those people. And our making sure that either you have followed a plan to get out of that lifestyle, or we're going to make it really miserable for you because we've already put you on notice that you are one of the people that are plaguing our community, and we're not going to allow that to come from you or anyone associated with you. So we made some moves in that program to move that out of community engagement into our criminal interdiction division. And we want to make sure that we are targeting the individuals and the groups that are responsible for the vast majority of violence in this city. We cannot allow people to continue to be killed in the city. It is absolutely unacceptable. And then lastly, talk about our sustained focus improvement. So we identified through data the 5 areas of Louisville, the 5 census tracts, who have the most room for improvement. And this is really about not just targeting individuals. This is about targeting neighborhoods, targeting areas for improvement, not necessarily enforcement. So what we've done is Assistant Chief Corey Robinson has done an outstanding job coordinating with other metro agencies. And officers go out and they take pictures of vacant properties, they take pictures of abandoned cars, street lights that are out, and they get those jobs to the appropriate metro agencies. They go door to door and take complaints from the neighborhood of what problems are you having, knowing that we're not going to solve those problems. LMPD is never going to board a house or tear down a vacant house or remove graffiti. But what that does is when you complain about graffiti or you complain about the potholes or something being torn up to an LMPD officer, and the next day Works or Parks or whoever shows up and fixes that problem, that starts to, one, turn over that neighborhood and make it a neighborhood that people are proud of, because we know that blight attracts what? Blight. But it also has the long-term effect of building trust in us, that we are not only competent, but we are willing to take those extra steps to make sure that you are taken care of as a community. So we have taken a 3-front approach to addressing violent crime. And I'm always hesitant to talk about improvement in stats, because I know that there's a lot of outliers. But if you look year to date so far, our homicides have gone down. This is as of the beginning of this week. Our homicides have gone down 39%. Our non-fatal shootings have gone down 43%, and our traffic fatalities have gone down 42%. I'm not a traffic cop. I hate writing tickets. I'm just like you, that people get behind me and I hit the brakes too, right? And I didn't get into this job to write tickets, I will tell you that. I remember my first phase as a brand new officer. Here I am thinking I'm gonna fight crime, I'm gonna get out here and chase guns and get bad people off the street. And I worked day work in a slower division, and we were pulling over parents taking their kids to school and school zones and stuff like that. And I wrote 72 tickets. You know it was bad because I remember the number. 72 tickets in that phase, and it was absolutely miserable. And I hated traffic enforcement. And then post-2020, when I started looking at the numbers, when you had this direct inverse correlation between the number of traffic tickets that we wrote for speeding and reckless driving and the number of traffic fatalities, it reminded me of what our mission actually is. Our mission is only 2 things. Our mission is to keep people safe and protect constitutional rights. And if we don't do both of those, then we fail, right? And so the focus on traffic enforcement is fundamental to keeping people alive. And so, unfortunately, some of you, I'm giving you a warning right now, need to slow down. We need to slow down out there. But this is great. This is our lowest number of homicides year to date since 2019. But I will tell you right now, I'm very nervous about that number, right? Very nervous about that number because we are only 3 months in. And we're about to hit those warmer months, which means that our officers have to be out there being very, very visible, interacting with people in both enforcement and non-enforcement ways. So that is what we're asking them to do as these months get warmer. And so hopefully you will see a more visible presence in your neighborhoods, particularly in downtown, because downtown is our neighborhood. It's everybody's neighborhood, no matter where you come from. It is our neighborhood. It's where everybody goes. It's the economic engine of Kentucky. So we have to put resources into making sure people feel safe and comfortable in the coming downtown. And then lastly, I'll end with just this little point of pride. Kind of a nerd. So one of the things I pay attention to is just what's going on with the stars and stuff like that, because it doesn't matter where you're at, what's going on. Pretty awesome. I remember when I was brand new, it's November, I'm riding with my FDO, Mike Seymour, and we're coming up 9th Street. Going northbound on 9th Street, right there around Liberty. And looked over, it was this clear fall night, looked over, and between the Aegon building and the PNC building, there's this big full moon. It was absolutely amazing, right? And I was thinking to myself, wow. I looked to the left, there's Beecher Terrace. We'll take a right, go where all this money and this calmness is, people living great lives. I can take a left and I can turn into the projects where people don't feel like the community is looking out for them. We have all taken lefts and rights in our lives, and a lot of us have had people to fall back on when we've taken that wrong turn, and we've had support systems to reach to, or to reach down to us to pull us back up. Right? I think organizations like this are those arms to pull people back up, because people are going to fall. People are going to make mistakes. It is our job to try to get them not to make those mistakes and hold them accountable when they do, as police officers. Right? I want to deter crime as opposed to apprehend people after the fact. But it is our job as a community to make sure that when people make those mistakes, we have the systems and the process and the culture to make them whole again and make them a good part of society. Good on it? Thank you.
Rotarians, if you have any questions for our speaker today, please line up behind me and abide by the rules on the screen.
Chief Humphrey, thank you for being here today. I'm Doug Myers, 7M Realtors. I'm very concerned about crime and that sort of thing when we're trying to keep with our city. But my question is a little bit aside from that. Have you noticed or have any data on whether changing from regular time to daylight savings time has an impact on crime?
Actually, I do know that has been studied. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I know the results of it.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Susan Cepeda. Two issues, gangs and drugs. What do gangs look like in Louisville? Is it different from what you see on TV and the movies? And how do you work with that?
All right, so gangs and drugs are obviously a problem that we have in Louisville, and it is a driver of violence. I'm not going to give numbers, but we have some different estimates of how much of our violent crime is caused by gangs and how many people are in gangs or groups in the city. And the vast majority of our violent crime is caused by a very, very small percentage of the population. And let's be honest, the vast majority of violent crime victims are also involved in that. So a lot of our enforcement work is geared around finding those people that might be the next perpetrator, associated with the next perpetrator, or the next victim of violent crime. Because oftentimes, just that interruption, that adult time, out time, is enough that prevents that crime triangle, that opportunity from coming to fruition and that person being killed or being the next perpetrator. So, I don't know if that really answered your question, but yes, we have a gang problem. And yes, we have a gang unit that is responsible for investigating them. And we have plans and operations on both sides of trying to get them out of the gangs before they do anything
Chief Humphrey, Renee Brown, RCB Health. First of all, it was a wonderful presentation, and we're excited that you're at the House. I just want to let you know that. One of the things I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit more about is school safety. We've been hearing a lot, and that's been going up. We've been seeing that nationwide. But what are we doing here as a community and as law enforcement in order to curb that and bring that down? And what do we need to do as citizens in order to adhere to some of the strategic plans that you have around school safety?
So school safety is one of those touch points because we have to protect our kids, right? That's one of the fundamental things of society is protecting our kids. We are not in the schools per se. So JCPS has its own police department that monitors the schools, but we work very closely with them. And we know that a lot of the things that happen out on the street, they found their way into the schools, right? These kids go to and from, and we also know that when kids transfer schools, it also causes a problem. So there's actually a problem that we're dealing with right now in one of the high schools where we've had kids from 2 different groups that have been put in the same school, unbeknownst to JCPS, and it's causing some real issues that bleed over into violent crime. So we know who a lot of those kids are. We work very, very closely with JCPS and their police chief, Todd Kessinger, who's retired from here, former homicide lieutenant. But yes, the violence with youth is an absolute problem. You can look at our statistics every week that we have juveniles that are involved in violent crime on a regular basis. I'm not sure the juvenile justice system is functioning the way that it should in order to solve that problem. But here's what I would say about juvenile crime, is that juvenile crime is not a police problem. Because if the police are already dealing with them, then it's too late. If we are locking up a 15-year-old or a 17-year-old for shooting somebody or carjacking somebody, then something has failed way before we got there. And so we have to have a system. We can't raise people's kids for them, and it's going to end badly if we have to. So there has to be the systems prior to us engaging with youth. And we can be the liaison to that, but we can't be that.
Hi, Chief. Michelle Blackwhite with the Brightside Foundation. At the Mayor's State of the City address, he announced a partnership between Rotary and Brightside to help with community-wide cleanups. Can you tell us a little bit about the impact of litter on public safety?
So this is kind of what I was talking about with the third prong of our plan, with sustained focus improvement. When people have a clean, well-kept neighborhood, they are more likely to go out of their way to make sure that neighborhood stays clean and well-kept. And I'll tell you, when I worked Lake Watch, I worked in the Russell neighborhood, and I remember sitting at the corner of 18th and Ali at the light. There's a vacant lot in the northwest corner. And one night it just hit me. That lot had a bunch of trash dumped in it, piled about this high. But what actually stood out to me was that I had rode past that trash like 8 days in a row, and I just now noticed it. You put something down in your house, you're more likely to put junk on top of it. And that's the same as neighborhoods. When neighborhoods are cleaned up, everybody gets behind keeping that neighborhood clean. And it starts to deplete the blight that neighborhoods go through when people are proud of their neighborhoods. So keeping just something as simple as litter. You've all heard of broken windows theory? It is a good theory. It's been applied many times in the wrong way, right? So we can have a good strategy poorly executed, right? That is part of making sure that neighborhoods are functioning and that the people that live in them are healthy and well taken care of. So I absolutely get behind that. So thank you for that.
Hi, thank you for being here today. My name is Roland Blahnik, and during my working career in area and my comment, my question, I guess, is that I notice when I'm driving on the expressways these are in other streets, like a policeman goes by, the traffic falls in at about mile per hour slower than the policeman's going. And yet, I often find that mile per hour is going like 70 miles an hour on the expressways. That's something that.
We're part of society, we're not better than that. We have a problem. And that problem of speeding is throughout the community, and it includes the police department. As Lieutenant Toby can tell you, that's always been a problem. We've always got to complain on for speeding, but it is something that we do need to address. And we need to address it within the police department and across the community. It's dangerous.
Good afternoon, Kim Wade for Cyber Workers Breaking Chains Incorporated. Thank you for being here today. Appreciate your presentation. So I have a two-parted question based on something that you just said. First, I want to know, what is LMPD doing to connect with other organizations, outside organizations of GBI? Being that GBI in particular has its own picks on who they want to collaborate with in organizations. And I have seen firsthand and have firsthand experience on those picks. But my question to you, what are you doing what is LMPD doing to connect with other organizations outside of GBI that's doing violence prevention / intervention work? That's the first question.
Well, I'll probably say we need to do a better job of it, clearly. Right? Let me with you. We have Josh Hatch here, who schedules things for me. Feel free to reach out, we'll set something up, figure out how to create a better process.
Yeah, you can't avoid to get in touch with it, and I know you're busy.
Yeah, I get about 400 emails a day, so yeah, so very hard to get a hold of.
So again, I think with hearing that response, it worries me because again, I have a nonprofit as well. I come from these communities. I'm educated to do this work, and which goes into my second question. Because you said that you're not in LMPD, when Sergeant Sakara was on a phone call, or in a Zoom meeting with the Department of Juvenile Justice, along with Emily McKinney as well. And I had met with Sergeant Sakara as well and his team, and we agreed a partnership. So I'm hearing one thing over here, and then I'm hearing you say that you're not in schools. So can you?
Yeah, we're not in school. That's two different questions. So yes, we are willing to partner with all kinds of organizations. That does not mean that we work inside of JCPS.
Well, that's what Sergeant Sakara was.
They have a program called the GREAT program that they run through there. That's the Gang Resistance Education Training. So studies were done about the DARE program and its ineffectiveness. And the next iteration of that is about giving skills to young people before they get to that age. So this is elementary school age people. It's called the GREAT program, Gang Resistance Education. Give them the skills to avoid that lifestyle before they ever get to it. And so, yes, we have that program. What I've done is we're not in schools in an enforcement capacity the way that we used to have SROs and things like that. But it's pretty clear that you have some very specific ideas about how to do things. And I think you can get with Josh, and we can set something up.
Okay. So I guess going back to the first question, because I didn't get it clarified for real.
We can clarify it later. I think we have a
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
He's offered you an entree, I will take it.
Amy Luttrell from Goodwill. Chief Humphrey, this club is very interested in doing whatever our members might be able to do to impact gun violence. What would be one thing that you could think of that the community could do differently, add on to what we're doing that might have an impact?
So there's many things that we can do. But first of all, I think as a community, I think we've become way too comfortable with the level of gun violence that we have. I think violence exploded over a very short period of time, and all of a sudden that became our new norm. And I think I spoke to a group earlier in the year that our homicide numbers went up to 175, 180 homicides a year. And I said, if we got those down to 130, people would clap. Well, that's not okay. That's still not okay, considering our record number of homicides was 117 prior to 2020. And so I think I hate to not give a specific answer, but it is, because it's so multifaceted, because there's legislative issues that have to be taken care of. I can say that where the prevalence of guns exists, gun violence increases. The other thing that we have that has increased in a crazy way is suicides. We have 32 suicides year to date. This is the first year that I know of, going back in all our statistics, that suicides have outpaced homicides. That's absolutely crazy. That is directly related to easy access to guns. And that is a legislative issue. Look, trust me, I like guns. I spent 10 years on a SWAT team. I really like guns, so don't turn this into a political thing. But it is an issue. And right now there's a bill before the state senate about changing the age of concealed carry from 21 to 18. That is not going to help. It's not. It's going to make our job more difficult. We saw this when we in the constitutional carry bill. That when you can carry concealed without a permit, without any type of check, it made our job more difficult to be able to enforce crimes that ultimately prevented gun violence. And so I think this group, understanding that there are ways to prevent gun violence and the prevalence of guns without impacting people's Second Amendment rights, I think we have to have real conversations about that. It can't be just either or.
I'm Cliff Elgin. Speeding is a problem, but what I'm concerned with traffic is people accelerating to go through red lights to the point now we tell out-of-town visitors if you've got a green light, you better wait 2 or 3 seconds.
We tell local people that. I said we say that locally too.
But no, and I asked a police officer about it, and his response was, "We'd love to enforce that law, but when we give a ticket, they go to the judge and say, well, it was yellow," when it really wasn't.
You bring up a good point, because this is another thing that we've proposed at the legislative level. Like I said, nobody wants to get tickets, but we have made pushes in the past. I know it was brought up this year about having traffic cameras and automated enforcement, and there are groups that are very, very much opposed to that. I can tell you any way that we can get to get people to slow down, drive more safely, I am all about, and I think that would be a tool that we can use in order to increase traffic safety. That is very simple. They do it in other states. There's no reason why we can't do automated enforcement.
Hello, good afternoon, President. My name is Portia Shoulders, the PLC's Board of Continentals, and I just wanted to end this really fast. In your second division, we have a local citizen, her name is P. News Turner. She walks around on her feet and goes to all the local accidents and any on-the-scene things that happens in West End, just around the 26th magazine area. I don't know if you know of, if you've ever heard of, but let me tell you what LMPD did. And I want to say thank you. You didn't know it happened. Just, I think the day before yesterday, they pulled up on her 4 cars deep, because she's always complaining about her phone going dead. They pulled up on her with her honorary LMPD little video recorder, all her chargers, her pieces and everything, and they gave it to her. And I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for that, because what I heard you say is what I seen happen, is that you are community engaging, you are out here doing different things, you are trying to make a difference in the 1st and 2nd division. So thank you. Go for
I'll say thank you for that. I did not know about that. Yeah. But I'm giving you a task now. I need you to get some information to him so that I can make sure I call him officer and tell him to do that.
Okay, I will.
All right, let's thank Chief Humphrey and his team. First thing she said to me was, we would like to get our chief to Rotary, and I said, well, we would love it. So thank you so much for making that happen. Okay, next Thursday we will be at Savor at River House, which of course you know we used to be at all the time. That's going to be our annual Unsung Heroes Luncheon, In addition to celebrating the students from across the metro area who live out service above self, again our motto, we will hear an inspirational message from Club Director Maggie Harlow. You need to RSVP by noon on Monday, or you can scan the QR code on the screen right now. Please note that construction has begun on River Road, and so like today, you might need to allow just a little bit more time to get to your destination. I also want to remind you all that Governor Andy Beshear is going to be speaking to our club. He's going to be speaking on Monday instead of Thursday, because he didn't have any Thursdays that were free. So of course we're accommodating the governor. He will be here at the club on Monday, March 31st. That will sell out. And so Delene is going to be putting the links up to register this afternoon. And if you are interested in yourself or bringing guests, please make sure that you do that as soon as possible because we will sell out. I want to remind our guests that when I ring the bell to adjourn, if you'll please go over to the Woodis Rotary table for just a few minutes to learn about Rotary. And I want to thank everyone for being here today. I hope you have a great rest of your week. We are adjourned.